is standardized. So you can see the lines go apart. Now, when they did this, they're also changing their behaviors. So the financial investments surge and displace other. So this is the first A chart is financial investments over total assets. So these non-financial firms after 1990 are just diverting their money. Right? B is the debt ratios. We've heard a lot about this earlier today, about sort of the taking on of debt. Again, we get this happening. Neither A or B looks good for the Clinton administration. You have a continuous rise of institutional ownership. That means the equity market is increasingly in those money market funds and state employee retirements, things like that. And then you also have stock repurchases. Now, both stock repurchases and this rise of debt reduce the equity that the firm is holding, which means they increase the return on equity ratio for these firms. Now, these are different ways of financing the firms, but they have clear consequences for the stock market valuation of the firms with feedback loops on CEO compensation. Right? If you reduce equity, you reduce the denominator, your return on equity goes up, you'll look good. So what did these do? The core argument is they changed displaced employment, increased CEO compensation. That's sort of a no-brainer. You could see how that could happen. It reduced the share of income going to labor, and it increased income inequality among the employed. So, I don't know if I'm going to be able to do this. Everyone take a deep breath. Right? It's going to be another chart, sort of pretty. What we ask is a question, all right, if financialization hadn't happened, what would have happened to employment? Right? This is a difficult question because lots of stuff happened. Right? So financialization doesn't happen by itself. And then, like, if at your firm levels, there's all sorts of aspects of it. So this is basically in a model. We've controlled for all the other things that are shifting in the economy that we could. The blue line is about the increased debt financing. Right? And this is for these Fortune 500 firms, the 800 or so. Right? So if they hadn't moved to debt financing, our guess is there'd be about 2% more employment in the economy. Not just in those firms, in the economy. And so we see this. And we've got these three measures of changes in financial behavior. They lead to about 2%, 1%, about 4% total decrease in employment in the economy. There's other charts on here about foreign income, foreign expenses for firms. It's about the same cost to employment as globalization, whether or not you follow the chart. So that's the key. That's the thing. We mostly talk about globalization. It's the same cost in employment for these large firms as domestic employment as globalization. So these are the income inequality trends. You just saw them, right? So what would have happened to labor's share of income